The hidden rule of power, silent acquisition. You walk into a room filled with voices. Everyone is speaking louder, trying to be heard, trying to look important. Some point to charts. Some raise their hands. Some even pound the table. The air feels heavy with noise. But then, something interesting happens. When the meeting finally slows down, when exhaustion replaces the shouting, all eyes drift, not to the loudest person, but to the quiet one. The one who didn't interrupt, didn't fight for space, yet somehow became the center of gravity. This moment captures a hidden truth. Real influence is not always announced. Sometimes it slips in quietly, like water filling the cracks of stone. People don't notice when it begins. They only notice when it's already there, holding everything together. Welcome to Learn English Listening. I'm Lydia, and in today's lesson, we explore this hidden rule of power, a lesson drawn from the timeless strategies of Machiavelli, but shaped for your everyday life and your journey of learning English. Together, we'll uncover how influence grows in silence, how presence can be stronger than speeches, and how these lessons connect directly to new English phrases you can use. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you something. Which city are you joining us from, and what hour is it there? Take a moment. Write it in the comments. Sharing this small detail connects us, because this channel isn't just about learning English. It's about building a community of growth and reflection. Today's story isn't about crowns, titles, or the loudest voice in the room. It's about the invisible rhythm of trust, reliability, and presence. And as we journey together, you'll discover not just new vocabulary, but a new way to think about power, influence, and the choices you make every day. If you are between 25 and 40, you probably know the pressure. You want to grow in your career. You want your family to see you as strong. You want your friends to respect your choices. Yet so often, it feels like you are standing in line, waiting for someone else to give you permission to move forward. You wait for the boss to assign you the important task. You wait for recognition to fall from the sky. You wait for the green light. But here is the problem. While you are waiting, opportunities slip past. Someone else steps into the space you could have filled. And later you wonder, was it really because they were smarter or louder? Or was it because they stopped waiting? Many people believe influence comes from volume. They imagine that the person who talks the most must be in control. But think about the reality. How many times has the loudest voice in the room actually created the solution? Noise may get attention, but noise rarely builds trust. This is where the hidden rule appears, the one we will call silent acquisition. It is not about begging for recognition. It is not about demanding titles. It is about noticing the gaps no one else wants to touch and quietly stepping into them. Over time, the room begins to adjust itself around you, not because you forced it, but because you became necessary. Does this sound familiar? Do you remember a time when your job felt heavier than your dreams? Perhaps you carried responsibilities that no one noticed, yet those responsibilities shaped the outcome more than anyone realized. That weight, though uncomfortable, may have been the very proof that you were already absorbing influence. And this is where our journey begins. Because learning English is not just about memorizing words. It is about noticing the silent spaces, the cultural rhythms, the ways people express power without ever announcing it. By studying both language and mindset together, you stop waiting for permission and start building presence. Imagine power not as a crown you wear, but as a current flowing under the surface. You cannot grab it directly. You cannot demand it. But you can learn to move with it, to redirect it, to let it carry you further than noise or titles ever could. This is the hidden key that Machiavelli hinted at long ago. Real influence is absorbed, not seized. Think of it like water soaking into soil. Slowly, quietly, the ground changes. Roots drink from it. Flowers bloom because of it, yet no one applauds the water. And yet, without it, everything collapses. Influence works in the same way. You don't need to shout. You need to become the steady flow that others depend on. In English, there's a useful phrase to step into the gap. It means to notice when something is missing and take responsibility before anyone else does. The one who steps into the gap is remembered as reliable, even if no announcement is made. Another phrase is to build trust capital. Just as money can be saved, trust can also be saved up. Every time you solve a problem quietly, every time you support someone without needing credit, you add to your trust account. Later, when decisions are made, that invisible capital becomes your strongest influence. And perhaps the most important phrase today is to become indispensable. This means becoming the person without whom the group, the team, or the project cannot move forward. Not because you forced it, but because you have quietly made yourself essential. These three phrases connect language learning with life learning. They are not only vocabulary to practice, they are mindsets to practice. When you step into the gap, build trust capital, and become indispensable, you are already practicing silent acquisition. The hidden key is not noise, it is necessity. The room does not revolve around the one who shouts, but around the one who solves. And that can be you. Silent acquisition is not flashy, and that is its strength. People often chase applause, but applause fades quickly. What lasts is the quiet memory of the one who showed up when no one else did. Over time, this memory grows into reputation, and reputation quietly transforms into authority that no one questions. Picture this. A project at work is falling apart. Deadlines are missed, clients are frustrated, and every meeting turns into a circle of blame. The manager shouts, the team argues, and no one knows what to do next. The room is full of noise, but empty of solutions. Then, without announcement, one person quietly says, "I'll take care of the client communication." They don't make speeches. They don't post about it online. They simply disappear for 2 days, return with a revised timeline, adjusted deliverables, and calm assurance. Suddenly, the panic fades. The crisis is resolved, and without anyone saying it directly, this person has become the anchor. This is what it means to earn silent authority. Authority here is not given by a title. It is earned by consistent reliability. The quiet fixer becomes the one everyone turns to when the next storm arrives. Another powerful phrase is to hold the keys. It means to possess the knowledge, the structure, or the solutions that unlock the way forward. The one who holds the keys may not sit at the head of the table, but everyone knows that without them, the doors stay closed. Now think about your own life. Influence is not only in offices, it shows up in families, in friendships, in small projects. Perhaps you have been the one who quietly solved something no one else wanted to face. Perhaps you have already held the keys without naming it. Let me ask you, what small habit are you trying to improve this month? Sometimes the smallest consistent actions, showing up on time, keeping promises, finishing tasks without complaint, become the very habits that give you silent authority. Drama fades, noise passes, but authority earned through reliability remains. And that is the climax of this lesson. Real power belongs to those who do the work that others ignore. Moments like this remind us that true influence rarely arrives with a spotlight. It arrives in silence, in the relief people feel when chaos is resolved. That relief attaches itself to a name, and soon that name becomes the natural answer whenever the next challenge appears. Think of influence not as fire that burns quickly, but as roots spreading quietly under the soil. Roots do not demand attention, yet they hold the entire tree steady in the storm. In the same way, silent acquisition is not manipulation. It is the gentle discipline of becoming reliable, steady, and trustworthy. Many people fear that if they are not loud, they will be invisible, but invisibility can be a strength. When you are not fighting for the spotlight, you can see more clearly. You can notice the tensions others avoid, the details others forget, the cracks others ignore. And by quietly filling those spaces, you become the ground beneath everyone's feet. There is healing in this idea. You do not need to compete endlessly to prove your worth. You can reframe success as contribution, as presence, as the calm voice that turns conflict into clarity. Think of yourself as the riverbed shaping the water's flow. The water may get the applause, but the riverbed gives it direction. Silent acquisition, then, is not about stealing control. It is about embodying stability. When people realize that their lives, their teams, or their projects run smoother with you around, they naturally protect your place. Not because you asked, but because your absence would feel like loss. This is the reframe. Stop waiting for recognition and start becoming essential. Not through noise, but through steady action. Influence grows like roots, hidden, quiet, and stronger every day. Think of how this shift can heal your own doubts. You don't need to force yourself into every conversation. You don't need to compete endlessly for visibility. When you reframe success as contribution, you also release the fear of comparison. What remains is steady confidence that grows quietly within. At this moment, you stand before two paths. One is familiar, waiting for permission, waiting for the title, waiting for the applause that may never come. The other is less visible, stepping quietly into the spaces no one else notices, creating value without demanding credit, and slowly weaving yourself into the fabric of trust. The second path may not shine with instant recognition, but it leads to something deeper, influence that lasts. It is the influence of the river shaping its course, of the roots holding the tree, of the quiet presence that everyone relies upon, even if they cannot explain why. In life, you will face many crossroads, but perhaps the most important is this. Will you keep waiting for someone else to hand you power, or will you begin practicing silent acquisition, becoming indispensable through steady presence and consistent action? At this very moment, you stand between comfort and growth. Which path will you take? If this story gave you something meaningful, share it with a friend who needs encouragement today. And don't forget to subscribe so you can keep walking with us on this journey of English and self-growth. Together, we learn not only new words, but new ways to live with clarity, strength, and quiet influence. Remember, power does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. And those who listen carefully are the ones who carry it forward.